Okay, so here's the example of what a formal outline should look like. And for this example, I used the topic, I didn't use a topic, I'm just showing you by using phrases and words where you would write things and where you need to use complete sentences and where you don't. A formal outline should always be efficient. In other words, you should use the least ink, space, and time possible. A formal outline is just a plan. It's like a map when you drive or a guidebook before you assemble the piece of furniture together. So you need to remember that it's just making suggestions about ideas. It doesn't have to include everything. If you learn the correct placement of numbering, spacing, heading, where to write complete sentences and where not to, the task of turning all those points, all the stuff on the outline into paragraphs is far less challenging. So here's an example of what the structure itself looks like. First of all, if you notice, you always begin with Roman numeral 1. So over here, where you see this right here, this is Roman numeral 1. So you end up with the word introduction, always beside that Roman numeral. That section is always going to be called the introduction, and that section is made up of 3 parts. Each of those parts is numbered with an A, a B, and a C. So part A of the introduction is an opening sentence. But on the outline, you just need to suggest that that's what you're going to do. You don't actually write a sentence there. With the B part of the introduction, that's your thesis. And here, you always do want to make sure that you write out a full and complete sentence. Your reader should know exactly what the purpose is, what they're supposed to learn, what your argument is, what your position is, once they read that sentence. So it should always address the question of why does this essay topic matter? What am I supposed to learn by reading this paper? Make sure that you spend some time and effort in creating a thesis that is strong and powerful. The third part of the introduction is labeled as C, and it's called divisions. Those are divisions of your thesis. They are parts of the thesis. So the parts that then each become a paragraph later on in the essay. Those ideas have to be big enough that you can turn each one of them into a separate paragraph, and they have to always connect back to what you set up here in the thesis. So you just list them. It's like a grocery list, I always say, of things that you're going to include, but that always go back and relate to that thesis. Roman numeral number 2 over here, if you notice we're back to the Roman numerals, we come back out to the left-hand margin and you put a space between what you're saying there and what that actual first division is going to be. So for example, whatever you have written up here beside a first topic, you should write again here. If this is an essay that I'm doing on how sports are so valuable to kids who are growing up, and my divisions are going to talk about hockey, basketball, and curling, my first one is hockey, I write hockey here again. This now says that whatever you put in this whole section has to all be about whatever this division idea is. The rule is you must have 3 parts to that division idea, and we call each one of those a subtopic. So it's a main idea 1, a main idea 2, and a main idea 3. The detail level comes here. So let's go back to our example and say I'm writing about sports and my first division topic is going to be about hockey. Then main idea A, main idea B, and main idea C have to all be about hockey. My detail, my proofs, and my examples are where I convince my reader that this thesis is very true for this particular division idea. We always say you should have at least 2 proofs of every main idea or every subtopic. That way you're giving enough emphasis to what it is that you're talking about to do a good job of proving it to the reader. Roman numeral number 3, if we go down here a little further, you just repeat what you did in 2 using a new idea. So now beside Roman numeral number 3 here, which again is a Roman numeral, remember those numbers are important for conventional numbering. What goes beside that is your second division idea. You divide that into your 3 main points, you generate your proof and your support with your details, and you move on. Roman numeral number 4 is going to be your third division idea. Remember, Roman numeral 1 is always your introductory paragraph, so these numbers are always one ahead of whatever the number of the division was that goes beside this. So going back to our sports example, if the third division was basketball or curling, then that's what you write here. Then you need your three main ideas about that topic. Your proofs and your examples are generated here using just point form. When we get to the conclusion section of the outline, you always call it Roman numeral number 5, again following our Roman numerals. It's titled The Conclusion. That simply tells you, reader, this is the last part of your essay and that you know it has to be a concluding paragraph when you turn this plan into paragraphs. You do two things always in your concluding paragraph, and you don't write them out here, you just indicate that those are the things you're going to do. So part A is a restatement of your thesis. Using different words, you want to repeat what it was that you said in your thesis, but you don't just want to recopy it, you have to say it a different way. Finally, you end your conclusion by a concluding statement, and that's usually an overall conclusion. It usually gives some final thought or some bit of wisdom on whatever the topic was about. So here, I'm using my example of sports. I might write a concluding statement that says, while sports are expensive, it's a valuable thing to have children involved with, or something like that, that ties everything together and ends off your whole paper. So remember, that is the plan for what an outline looks like. We're going to go on a little further and now look at one with an example topic on animals, so you can see how it works with the actual details, subtopic ideas, and divisions in the outline.